Welcome to Lost Relation Chronicles. I came home from a 2-week business trip and found our wedding photo missing from above the fireplace. At first I thought maybe it had fallen. Maybe the hook gave out or the frame cracked. But no, in its place was a new picture, neatly framed, carefully centered. It was Reagan and Sebastian smiling together in Rome, arms around each other like they hadn't skipped a beat since college. The Colosseum loomed behind them like a ghost of something ancient and broken. My heart lurched. I stood there in the doorway, suitcase still in my hand, the quiet hum of the refrigerator, the only sound in the room. At first I laughed under my breath. Some weird twisted prank, right, Ray? I called out. My voice echoed. No answer. I walked toward the fireplace slowly. The frame was newer than any of the ones we'd picked out together. Black matte, sleek, not our usual style. Then I noticed another one on the hallway wall, just past the console table where we kept our keys. This time they were clinking glasses at what looked like a vineyard. Napa, I would later find out. I stared at it for a long moment before I moved again. Almost afraid of what I'd seen next, there were more. One at the bottom of the stairwell, 2 more going up. Reagan laughing in the sand, Reagan in a cozy cabin, her head on his shoulder. That same damn smile she used to give me when we'd curl up for movie nights, all perfectly framed, not sloppy, not haphazard, intentional. I walked into the bedroom. On her nightstand, where our wedding photo used to sit, was another shot. This one more intimate, Reagan in a sun hat leaning into Sebastian's chest, both of them sunburnt and grinning, the Pacific surf foaming behind them. It was like I'd walked into someone else's life. My name is Declan Miller. I'm 41 years old, a marketing executive based in Olympia. I handle client relations for an international branding firm, so travel's always been part of the job. Reagan knew that when she married me 6 years ago. Hell, she used to tease me about always having frequent flyer miles, but no one to use them with. We met at a charity auction in Bellevue. Curated art, minimalist catering, overpriced wine. I sponsored the event, and she was the woman everyone gravitated toward. She had this effortless charm, like she didn't even realize how beautiful she was. A sharp tongue tucked behind soft words. "You're either the only man here not trying to impress anyone," she said when we first spoke, "or you're really good at faking it." I remember laughing. Why can't it be both? She moved in 3 months later. 6 months after that, we said our vows under a cedar arch in Olympic National Park. It rained that morning but cleared just in time for the ceremony. I remember thinking how that felt like a metaphor. She was the calm after every storm I'd ever known. I loved her. Still did. At least I think I did back then. But something shifted. It started subtly. Reagan began keeping her phone face down during dinner. I noticed but didn't say anything at first. Then came the old friends she was reconnecting with on Instagram. That's how she phrased it. "You remember Sebastian, right?" she asked once over Thai takeout from college. I tried to play it cool. "The one you backpacked through Spain with?" "Yeah." We started chatting again. Nothing crazy, just catching up. I smiled like it didn't matter. "Sure, good for you." She nodded. Her chopsticks paused mid-air. "He's married now, I think." But her voice trailed off like she wasn't convinced. After that, there were more names, more memories resurfacing. She started talking about high school trips, old photos she found, songs she hadn't listened to in years. Then came the space. "Rye, did I do something?" I asked one night after a quiet dinner. Too quiet. She was rinsing dishes, her back to me. "I just need space sometimes to think." "To think about what?" She sighed. "I don't know, Declan. Everything. Life. I didn't push. I told myself it was a phase. Work, stress, hormones, whatever. But the arguments started. Arguments that came from nowhere. I tried not to read into it. Everyone hits LOLs in marriage. Dry, spells, rough patches. Call it what you want. I figured we'd bounce back like we always did. Before this most recent trip to Singapore, I even upgraded our home security system. Smart cameras, cloud storage, motion sensors synced to my phone. Discreet. I didn't even tell Reagan. I thought it'd be a fun surprise. Her always saying how she felt uneasy alone at night. 13 days. I was gone for 13 days. And in that time, it was like she'd erased me from our life. That first night back, I couldn't sleep. Jet lag. Yeah. But more than that, something didn't sit right. I kept walking through the house like I was searching for something. Or maybe trying to prove to myself that I was imagining things. My suitcase was still sitting by the door. I hadn't even unpacked. I passed the bookshelf in the hallway. Noticed the picture from our honeymoon in Kauai was gone. It used to sit next to the shelf frame we found at that beach market. I paused. Maybe she moved it. Maybe she'd cleaned. Then I got to the living room. The big canvas print, the one we had taken with her parents on Christmas Eve. Everyone wearing tacky sweaters and holding mugs of spiked cider gone, replaced by a new frame. Another photo of Reagan and Sebastian. They were clinking wine glasses at what looked like a rooftop bar. Florence, maybe. Sunset behind them, golden and perfect. Her hand rested casually on his thigh, his fingers curled around the base of her wine glass like he belonged there. I stood staring for a long time. Eventually, I made my way upstairs, each step heavier than the last. I don't even remember climbing them. My body just moved. And there she was in our bedroom, humming to herself and lighting a candle on the dresser. Lavender, something probably. She didn't hear me at first. She looked peaceful, like she was exactly where she was meant to be. In our bedroom, in our life. In this moment, when she finally turned and saw me standing there, frozen in the doorway, she jumped slightly and then smiled. "Oh my God," she said. "You're back early." I wasn't early. She just hadn't checked the itinerary I sent her twice. Hadn't responded either time, but I figured she was just busy. I nodded toward the dresser behind her. "You redecorate while I was gone." She glanced past me, then gave a quick, strange laugh, a little too loud, a little too practiced. "Oh, that," she said, waving a hand. "That was just a joke. Me and Valeria had a wine night, got a little creative, thought it would be funny." I said nothing. I couldn't. My throat had tightened like a fist. She kept going. "Come on, babe, don't look," like that. We were bored. Val dared me to put up some old photos for laughs. "You know I'd never." She trailed off. Her voice wavered. She wouldn't meet my eyes. And when I stepped past her and picked up one of the frames, Sebastian kissing her, cheek, her eyes closed, smiling. I turned it over. I felt the back. I checked the wall. The nail holes were perfectly aligned. Not just one or two, all of them. The pictures weren't thrown up during some drunken joke. They were measured, mounted, meant to stay. I said nothing. That night. What was there to say, really? She lit her candle. She hummed her song. She slept soundly beside me while I stared at the ceiling for hours, feeling like a guest in my own damn bed. The next morning, she kissed me on the cheek like everything was normal, like my world wasn't tilted sideways. Said she had a meeting downtown and left before I'd even made coffee. The door shut behind her. I stood in the kitchen for a long time, hand wrapped around a mug that I never poured. My eyes landed on the shared tablet next to the fridge, the one she always used for grocery lists, recipes, scheduling reminders. She probably forgot it was still synced to her phone. I picked it up, sat down at the table, thumb it open the Messages app, half of me hoping I'd find nothing, some innocuous explanation, some thread I could pull that would unravel this thing into something forgivable. But no, the messages were all there, dozens of them, weeks worth. She hadn't just joked about putting up those pictures, she had planned it. Every last one of them. The texts between her and Valeria were a knife with every scroll. "Valeria, once the new photos are up, it'll feel less like his space and more like yours again. Reagan, I'm just going to keep saying it was a joke until he gets used to it. Valeria, start shifting money soon. Joint savings first, then the stocks. He won't notice with all the travel. Reagan, anniversary is perfect timing. Tell him then just rip the Band-Aid off. then the one that finally made my stomach twist so hard I had to put the tablet down. Reagan, honestly, being with Sebastian, again feels right. I made a mistake marrying Declan. I know it now. I sat there for a long time staring at the screen. It wasn't just that she was leaving me. That in itself wasn't the gut punch. I think some part of me had known for a while that something was slipping through the cracks. But the way she talked about me, like I was a project to be closed, an account to be zeroed out, a ghost she was slowly evicting, not a husband, not a person, a formality. I closed the tablet, set it gently on the counter like it might explode, and I sat in the quiet for a few more minutes, listening to the hum of the fridge, the distant sound of traffic on Mercer Street. Then I remembered the cameras. Before I left for Singapore, I had installed the new security system. High-res cloud, backup, motion detection, audio too in every room but the bathrooms. I wanted her to feel safe, wanted to surprise her with something useful. She never even asked about it. I pulled out my phone, thumbed open the app, and then I started scrubbing, back, day by day, room by room, through the last week. There she was. Day 5. I sat at my desk, the soft glow of the screen reflecting in my eyes as I watched her pull a stack of old photos from the hallway cabinet. Our cabinet where we kept birthday cards, keepsakes, even the dried binaire from my brother's wedding. She rifled through it like it was nothing, like it didn't mean anything. Day 6. Valeria arrived just after 6 p.m. They brought 2 bottles of wine and a playlist full of early 2000s throwbacks. I watched them sip and laugh, their faces flushed with drink and self-satisfaction as they took down every trace of us. The canvas from our Santorini trip, the shadow box I'd made with concert tickets, and the note I wrote her on our first anniversary. For every version of you, I'll always stay. They didn't even flinch, just tossed it all into a cardboard box like expired food. Day 7, they unwrapped the new prints. Glossy, curated, clearly professional. Reagan in Sebastian's arms at some goddamn waterfall, her smiling up at him like I'd never existed. Valeria held one up, tilted it slightly. Oh, this one's perfect. It feels authentic. Reagan sipped her wine, nodded. It's like coming home, you know? They both just admired it like it was a masterpiece, like it was art. Day 8. Reagan sat cross-legged on the couch, glass of Merlot in hand. I watched from the camera in the bookshelf. Her voice was crisp, no hesitation. He won't even fight, she said. Declan never does. Once I shift the rest of the money, I'll hand him the papers. Make it clean. That was it. That sentence, calm, calculated, was the match on the gasoline. She didn't know I'd hear it. Didn't know she'd just handed me the key to everything. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed beside her, listening to the sound of her toothbrush clinking against the porcelain sink, the faint hum of her humming ohm, song we used to slow dance to. I watched her plug in her phone, set her alarm, and roll over like nothing had changed. I stared at the ceiling, counting the seconds between her breaths, thinking about how someone can live beside you, sleep beside you, smile at you, and be making plans to erase you the entire time. While she slept, I was busy. I uploaded every clip, every word, every frame to a secure drive. The next morning I made the call. My attorney, Martin Glassman, old friend of my father's quiet voice, razor-sharp mind. He listened patiently as I explained, then said, "With what you've got, we can move first. Freeze the joint accounts file. Under grounds of deception and financial misconduct. You'll have the upper hand, Declan." By that afternoon, the bank accounts were locked, everything paused, everything protected, and I didn't say a word to Reagan. Not when she texted me midday, long day, going to be home late, XO. Not when she mentioned how I seemed distant lately, how cold I'd been since getting back. Not even when she slipped into bed that night, curled into me with that same fake softness she wore like perfume because it wasn't unraveling for me. It was unraveling for her, and she had no idea the floor had already given out. It was Friday evening when she finally made her move. I was in the kitchen fixing a drink. Bourbon, 1 ice cube. When I heard the familiar click of heels across the hardwood, she leaned against the counter wearing that soft pink blouse she always saved for dinner dates. Makeup just right. Perfume. Subtle but deliberate. "Hey," she said, her voice light, casual, practiced. I turned slowly, glass in hand. "Hey." She looked me over for a moment like she was trying to read the room, gauge the temperature. Then she smiled. Not the one she used to give me when she actually meant it, but the smile she used on clients and distant relatives. Polished, hollow. "So, I was thinking," she began, reaching for her own glass of wine. "Maybe we could go out tomorrow night. That new wine bar on 5th just opened." It was almost convincing. Almost. But her hand, her left one, was shaking just slightly as it lifted the glass. Not enough that most people would notice, but I did. That tiny tremor in her wrist said more than her words ever could. She was nervous, not because she thought I knew anything, but because she was stepping into character. The performance was beginning. This was scene 1 of her exit strategy. Reagan, the reasonable, the one who tried, the one who offered. I didn't flinch, just took a slow sip of my drink. The bourbon burning like truth going down. "Sure," I said, voice calm. "Tomorrow works." She blinked. It wasn't the answer she was expecting. Not even close. "Really?" she asked with that half-hopeful lilt. She tilted her head like she was surprised by my cooperation. "Why not?" I said. There was a pause, brief but telling, before she smiled. A little too wide, a little too proud. In her mind, she just wants something. What she didn't know was that earlier that same day, I'd finished compiling everything. The footage, the audio, screenshots of every text between her, Valeria, and Sebastian, even the screen recording I'd taken of her trying to log into our joint investment account. She hovered over the transfer button, probably picturing a future she thought I'd never noticed slipping away. She didn't know I'd already disabled her access. Didn't know my attorney had the entire dossier organized, time-stamped, secure. Didn't know the divorce papers were ready, the process server on standby. Didn't know the account she'd planned to funnel the stolen money into had been frozen and flagged for suspicious activity. I could have stopped her right there. I could have told her what I knew, watched her crumble. But I didn't, because there was something in her calmness. In the casual way, she looked at me like I was already fading from the picture. That made me want to wait. Not to hurt her, not out of pettiness. I just wanted her to see how far I'd let her get before the floor gave out beneath her. Saturday morning. She left early, slid her sunglasses on like she had somewhere important to be. "I've got an appointment at the gallery," she said, kissing the air near my cheek. I waited 10 minutes after the garage door closed. Just enough time to make sure she was gone. Then I walked straight to her side of the closet. It didn't take long. Tucked inside one of her handbags, the brown leather one she only used for errands, was a slim black folder. I'd seen her clutch it 2 days ago, quickly hiding it behind her back when I walked in. She'd smiled and said it was just junk mail. It wasn't. Inside a printed list, items to be discussed during settlement. My car, my stock options, the guest house in New Hampshire, my father's left to me in the will, even the damn Labrador Tucker, who I had before I even met her. She wasn't just planning to leave, she was planning to take everything. At noon, I got the call. "Declan," my attorney said, voice crisp, composed, "we're ready when you are." I looked out the window at nothing in particular, let a slow breath pass. "6 I said. "Do it then." At 5:57 p.m., Reagan was upstairs. I could hear the soft hum of her makeup brush against the vanity mirror, the faint creak of the floorboards under her heels. She was humming some breezy pop tune like it was any other Saturday, like she had no idea. "6 Beak, you're sharp." The doorbell rang. She called down chipper and sweet like always. "Can you get that, babe?" I walked to the front door, opened it without a word. There stood the server, neutral face, envelope in hand. He gave a small nod. Reagan Emery. She was halfway down the stairs now, the black dress she wore hugging every curve with intention. She paused, brows raised, still playing the role. "Yeah," she said lightly, like she was expecting a flower delivery. He read her full name, then handed her the envelope. I stepped aside and didn't say a word. She took it, still confused, then slowly peeled it open. Her eyes scanned the first page and the shift. God. It was like a thunderclap behind her eyes. Her mouth went slack. She looked up at me from the landing, papers in hand, expression unreadable at first, then silence. Not a single word. For the first time in what felt like months. No protests, no acting, just stunned, breathless stillness. It was the most peaceful moment we'd shared in ages. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She stood there in that black dress, the one she wore when she wanted to command attention. And suddenly she couldn't even command her breath. Her voice broke through after a moment, brittle and soft. "Well, what is this?" I set my drink down gently on the side table, took a step forward. "You'll find everything in the documents," I said. "Calm, clean, surgical, filed this morning. Grounds, deceptive conduct, financial intent to defraud, emotional manipulation. There's also a clause for premeditated transition of shared assets." She blinked slowly like she couldn't quite process the words. You hired a lawyer behind my back." I tilted my head, lips pulling into something close to a smile. "I upgraded our home security behind your back too. I guess we're both full of surprises." Her face changed then. The veil dropped. Not sorrow, not regret, panic. Not panic over losing me. No, I don't think that was ever the fear. It was the panic of being caught. She stormed down the stairs, the papers crumpling in her hand like they'd burned her. "This is ridiculous," she snapped. "You're blowing everything out of proportion. Those messages, those weren't what you think. You don't even understand the context." I didn't answer with words. I pulled my phone from my pocket, tapped a button and held it up. Her voice filled the room. Tiny, but unmistakable. "He's so passive. Valeria, he won't even fight. Once the accounts are mine, I'll drop the papers on our anniversary and let him pretend he didn't see it coming." Reagan froze. I watched it land. Recognition first, then dread. She blinked twice. "You recorded me?" Her voice cracked like glass. "No," I said, voice level. "The security system did. The one I installed before my trip. Surprise gift. Cloud backup, full audio." She stared at me, but the anger didn't come. Only realization. A slow, cold horror. I walked over to the coffee table, pulled the small USB drive from my pocket, and set it down gently. "Everything's on there," I said. "For your attorney." I looked at her. Really looked at her for maybe the last time like that. "Assuming," I added, "he'll still take your case." "You don't have to do this," she said suddenly, her voice small, almost a whisper like a child caught mid-lie. "We can talk, work through it, too." I was confused. I made a mistake, Declan." I didn't flinch. My eyes didn't even leave hers. "You plan to replace me in a heartless, brutal manner, and you expect me to forgive you. Come on, you are so delusional. You don't want me. In fact, I now believe that you never wanted me. So in a way, I am helping you get rid of me. The only drawback, you leave the way you came in this marriage empty-handed." She looked around the room then, and I watched it hit her. The walls, the furniture, the air. It all still held our life, or at least the illusion of it. But now the photos betrayed her. The ones on the mantel in their carefully chosen frames. Her with Sebastian, her with Valeria, a smile too wide for someone just confused. Balconies in Santorini, wine bars I'd never stepped foot in, laughs I'd never earned, places I hadn't been, moments I hadn't lived. She looked at them like they'd betrayed her, like it was their fault they were still up, still visible. "I'll take them down," she said quickly, breathless now. "Right now you don't live here anymore, so don't bother." "I know where to dump them," I said. She went still like I'd reached out and physically stopped her. You have 72 hours to remove your belongings, I continued. Voice. Even after that, a moving service will pack and store them at your cost. Her lips parted like she might argue, but nothing came out. The bank accounts are frozen, I went on. Your access is gone. I've already filed the asset protection motion with the court. Declan, please, she said. Desperation now, but I didn't answer because there wasn't anything left to say, because anything worth saving had already been set on fire by her own hands. So I turned, walked upstairs, and while walking, I could not resist, and said in a mocking tone, Declan, please look at me. I am a bitch. I tried to dump you, but I got played. Then I let out a laugh and closed the bedroom door behind me. Downstairs I could hear her pacing, crying, talking into the phone in low, frantic tones. Maybe Valeria, maybe her lawyer, maybe Sebastian. Her fallback plan turned liability. Didn't matter. None of them could undo what she'd done, and they damn sure couldn't stop what was coming next. I spent Sunday morning packing her things, not out of spite, out of efficiency. The woman I married hadn't lived here in a long time. What was left of her was curated, assembled like a gallery exhibit. Books she never read. Art supplies that hadn't been touched since she bought them for aesthetics. Throw pillows matched, to seasonal tones because some influencers said it made a house feel alive. I packed it all with the same calm I used to prepare quarterly decks for billion-dollar clients. Methodical, focused, done by noon. When she came back later that day, she didn't even come inside. I watched from the upstairs window as she sat in her car for 15 minutes, engine idling, eyes red, mascara in place, a mask over the wreckage, and then she stepped out, shoulders back, lipstick perfect, every hair in place like it was just another his performance. I need to talk to you, she said, standing in the doorway like she didn't belong there anymore. Her purse was clutched tight to her chest. Less accessory, more shield. You have 30 minutes, I replied, stepping aside. She hesitated for a second, then walked in like a guest. Careful, wary. When she caught sight of the labeled boxes tucked into the foyer, closet, bathroom, office, desk, something flickered across her face. Anger, grief, regret. Maybe all three tangled together in the space where certainty used to live. Is this really necessary? She asked, voice tight. Yes, I said. Inefficient. She let out a bitter laugh. Short, sharp. You're enjoying this, aren't you? No, I answered truthfully. I'm just not afraid of it. She sat on the edge of the couch, perching like she might take flight at any second. Her eyes dropped to the floor. She didn't speak for a long time, and when she did, her voice was almost ashamed. Sebastian backed out. I said nothing. Let it hang in the air like wet laundry. He said the drama was too much. She added quieter. I gave a small nod. You built something on betrayal. It wasn't going to hold. She looked up at me then, like I'd struck her, like I wasn't supposed to say that out loud. You don't have to be cruel, she said. I'm not being cruel, I replied. I'm being honest. You should try it sometime. She shook her head, stood up like the couch had become too unstable to bear her weight. You were always so calm, she said. That's what made this easy. I know. She stared at me then, really stared like she was searching for something. Pity, permission, maybe some last lifeline. I hadn't cut yet, but I wasn't offering it because I had something else in my pocket, something heavier than keys or final words, a USB drive. Not for the courts, for her family. Earlier that week I called her father, the man who once hosted us at our wedding, proud and beaming, the man who paid for her private education, the man who helped us buy this house. We hadn't spoken in over a year, but when I said, I have something you need to see, he listened. Now, a sealed envelope sat in his office with her name on it and the truth inside. It wasn't revenge. It was record-keeping. So when she tried to rewrite this, tried to play victim, cry about neglect, spin her own mythology, there would be proof. Time stamped, voice logged, legal. She stood there a moment longer, then grabbed her keys. "I'll have a mover come tomorrow," she said flatly. "Good," I nodded. "Make sure they know I'll be filming the pickup. Inventory purposes." She paused at the door, her hand on the handle. "You really hate me now, don't you?" I looked at her for a long moment. "No, for that I have to have some emotion attached with you. Now you are equal to a random homeless bum we all ignore," I said with a chuckle, and with that she left. The woman who walked out that day wasn't the one who'd walked in 5 years ago, arms full of champagne and laughter on our anniversary. Cheeks warm from wine and love. That version of Reagan, the one I married, was gone. This one would have to live with what she'd done, and I would live with what I'd rebuilt from the ashes she left behind. She didn't come back the next day. Instead, a moving crew showed up right at 9 Howard. 2 men in gray polos, clipboards in hand, reading from a checklist like they were delivering furniture instead of clearing the remains of a life. She must have texted them hastily. An address, a time, no note, no courtesy, just delegation. I greeted them at the door, stepping aside. "Boxes are already packed," I said, nodding toward the stacks lined along the hallway walls. "Security cameras are recording. Let me know if anything's missing or changed." They exchanged a glance and gave quick nods. "Understood," one of them said. His voice was professional, clipped. Just another job, just someone else's fallout. I stepped back. Let them work. They moved efficiently, barely speaking to one another. No unnecessary questions, no sympathy. By noon, they were gone. And so was she. For the first time in months, the house felt still, not silent from tension, not quiet like a storm had passed and left wreckage behind. Just still, I walked through each room slowly, reclaiming them one by one. The bedroom was mine again, just mine. The closet didn't of her perfume or hold her dresses hostage. The kitchen, once cluttered with half-drunk bottles of Pinot Grigio and notes that said things like, "Maybe remember I exist," was neutral, honest, clean. And then my phone rang. Her father. I let it ring twice before I picked up Declan. He said. His voice was low, steady, measured like always. I saw the footage. I didn't say anything. There was a pause. "I'm sorry," he continued. "Slower now for everything. For believing her over you, for not reaching out sooner." "She made it easy not to," I said, my voice calm. "I meant it. I wasn't throwing jabs. I was stating facts. She's ashamed," he said. "Not that she'd admit it, but she knows. She knows what she's done." I stayed quiet. "And we won't be covering for her anymore," he added. "I didn't send it for your approval." I said flat, "Just your awareness." "I understand," he replied. "You had every right." Another pause. Then something I hadn't expected. "If you ever need anything, personally or professionally, you call me first." Understood? That surprised me. He was not a man of offers or apologies, but this was both. "Understood?" I said quietly. We hung up and I sat on the porch. Let the late afternoon sun settle over the railing, felt the day slip out of its heat and into something cooler, softer, watched the afternoon fade into blue. I thought of the timeline again, the trip, the photos, that carefully stitched plan she thought she could execute in silence. I thought of Sebastian, her fall back, the man she must have imagined would be standing there, arms open, ready to catch her the moment she jumped. But she miscalculated. He vanished the second her schemes touched daylight. The truth. Reagan never expected resistance. She'd counted on me being predictable, passive, soft-spoken, a man too. Logical to fight fire with fire. She was right about one thing. I didn't scream, didn't throw plates or torch her clothes or drag her through the mud online like some wounded teenager. I didn't even break the picture frame on her nightstand. I just let her speak, let her text, let her plan, let her dig. Because betrayal, real betrayal, doesn't always need revenge. Sometimes all it needs is a mirror, and she had to look into hers every morning now. No marriage, no money, no fallback, just silence, just consequences. And meanwhile, I was already planning what came next. 6 months later, I sold the house. Not because I needed the money. I didn't. The business was fine, investments thriving. But no matter how many walls I repainted or how many pieces of furniture I replaced, her voice still clung to the corners like smoke. That kind of poison doesn't fade. It settles in the baseboards, in the grout, in the air. You didn't realize you were choking on until you finally stepped out of it. I moved north, found a quiet coastal town near Bellingham. Foggy mornings, briny air, slow living. Bought a small place on a hill with tall windows and a wide view of the water. No curated art, no gallery walls, just space, clean, honest. I started waking up before dawn again. Hadn't done that since the early years of our marriage, back when she'd still laugh in the kitchen and touch my hand without thinking, back when things still felt light. I took up hiking, started cooking. For myself, real food, not just takeout or frozen meals eaten standing over the sink. I grew herbs on the ledge above the kitchen sink. Parsley, thyme, basil that kept trying to take over. Small things, but they didn't feel empty. They felt mine. And I didn't date. Not because I was afraid, but because for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was missing something. I didn't need to fill the space beside me to feel whole. I was whole again on my own terms. 2 months after the divorce finalized, Reagan emailed me. No subject line, no greeting, just, "I hope you're okay. I never meant to hurt you the way I did." I stared at the screen for a while. Could have written back. Could have said something cutting. Could have ignored it with spite. But I didn't reply. Not because I was angry, because there was nothing left to say. Nothing that hadn't already been said. In court, in footage, in the silence, she left behind. Last I heard, she was renting a one-bedroom downtown. Sebastian was out of the picture. Valeria, too. The friends who'd helped Reagan scheme, gone the moment the ship started sinking. Funny how quickly they disappear when there's no story left to spin. Meanwhile, I was thriving. I'd been promoted to VP of Strategy. No more last-minute flights. No more weekends swallowed whole by the demands of a life that no longer existed. I had control over my schedule again. I had my focus back. My team respected me, not just for what I delivered, but for how I carried myself. When everything collapsed, people noticed. Turns out there's something magnetic about quiet dignity. Something people remember when the dust settles, and the dust settles slowly. One afternoon, I was speaking on a marketing panel in Olympia. Afterward, a woman came up to me. Sharp mind, grounded presence. We talked, then we kept talking, slipping into that comfortable rhythm of two people who are just beginning to understand one another. I don't know where it's going yet. And I'm not rushing to find out because now I move on my own time. Now I understand what Reagan never did. Love isn't control. It isn't performance. It isn't manipulation wrapped in a pretty bow. It's choice. And the moment someone stops choosing you behind your back while smiling to your face, you owe them nothing. Not your rage, not your tears, not even your attention, just distance. That's what I gave her. And in doing so, I gave myself peace. I didn't burn the house down. I didn't slash her tires or post to tell all expose online. I didn't waste my energy on revenge, because sometimes the best revenge isn't burning everything down. It's walking away while everything she built on lies burns behind. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.